Okay, so this is a quick run through of the Tiblisi Guard mission. It comes with the new AH-64D Apache module. We're obviously sitting in the AH-64 on the ground at this FARP. You can see from the data we've been given to enter into the TSD. This is FARP London, and the scenario is going to be ourselves and our wingman over there. Not going to get airborne. We want to turn down this river, or a low-level river run, to a battle position, which is the next point that we have to put into the TSD. And from there we're going to observe for a Russian convoy that is as a prelude to the start of the invasion of Georgia. We will weapons halt until otherwise advised, and there is some Georgian artillery, which is the third bit of data up there, to provide fire support in the event that convoy does invade, and also a mechanised platoon standing by in case we fail in our mission or the artillery doesn't stop the convoy. It's a hot start mission, so very little to do in the way of setup except to plug this data in, so I'll go off and do that just now and then come back. Okay, so that data is entered now. You can see in the waypoints there's the pre-programmable route from the mission editor. That's going to take us down to waypoint 7, which is the end of the river run, and from there these 4 new controlled measures we put in. You can see FARP London where we are now. Our battle position is C52. The artillery fire position is F1 for situational awareness, and the mechanised platoon, the Georgian mechanised platoon, is C54, so we can make sure we're not sending any ordnance in that direction, potentially blue on blue. So we'll go back to the TSD page now. It doesn't appear that there are any maps at this level of zoom for this part of Georgia, but we can increase the distance to get the lowest resolution of aviation, and you can see our river run off to the 180 position from where we are here at London. In terms of weapons, not quite the full complement of Hellfires, but enough to do the job, assuming my wingman over there is able to not crash or get shot down, which is usually what happens. We also have the gun as well, 300 rounds, because we also have the lobby tank installed by default in this latest early access release, rather than the 1500 we would get if we were able to take that tank out. There is a bug in the mission briefing that says that the wingman is on UHF 251, but he's not. He's actually on VHF 127, that's not 5. So I'm going to go to the comm page, choose manual, and VHF, and go down to the keyboard, and put 127.5, and that should allow us to talk to our wingman. Go back to the aircraft page, so we've got engine information for the pickup, hover check and everything else. We have lights on at the moment. I just want to do this covertly as possible, so we'll switch those off. And it's fairly low light conditions as well, so I'm going to have to pin this on to help me with obstacles, but also the flare from it can be very useful for picking up convoys and things like that when we get to the battle position, so that would be a useful thing to have. So back to TSD there, I'm going to take that down to 10 kilometers again, release the parking brake, and before we get going I'm also going to arm up the CMOS, put it on arm and bypass so I can manually release flares and chaff the button on the side hook. Everything else should be good to go, so let's get underway. iHat's back on, symbology, hot mode. Slowly increasing the collective, watching what the aircraft's doing to counter any movement. There's 5 foot, getting 66% torque with this load, so we should have plenty of margin to get airborne and continue the mission. And there's that one map, so off we go. symbology to transition mode, get a bit of forward airspeed. As you come over the river, start making the turn. Take us up the river here and towards that back position. Accelerate, get some trim in some of these control forces. That's now trimmed, so it's much more comfortable. There's the first waypoint over the bridge, and we can continue with our river run up towards waypoint 2. Switch on the invis now. Extra situational awareness from the flare. I'll drop down to low treetop level now. I'm going to try and follow the river as best I can. Got a message now. Oh good, an SA-11. Try not to crash as I read that. Cut through these trees here rather than follow the river. So we have an SA-11 convoy to deal with as well. Fortunately, because it's on the move, I don't think I'll be able to engage us unless it has some point defense travelling with it. So hopefully we'll catch it unawares and defenseless. Obviously if it's stopped and set up, we'd have a real problem on our hands. Steep turn here, again I'm going to cut the corner off. Sometimes a good idea as well to use nose to tail trim when you're down in amongst the trees like that, so your tail rotor isn't hanging out. Avoid the temptation to fly under that bridge. So I fly in pancake modes, 2D, with track IR. Much as I love the immersion of VR, just can't live with the performance and constant tweaking and low resolution, especially when using a complex module like the Apache. So I do use track IR instead, but the other advantage of that is I have a Stream Deck XL with a Apache profile I put together based on some of the ones you can download from the user file section of the VD website. So when you saw me entering things like the frequency in there, that was me doing it through the Stream Deck XL. It's a lot handier just to have that in front of me and be able to switch to things like the keyboard and things like setting some of the switches quickly. That would be very awkward to take your hands off and move the mouse around to click on things. I also have the Thrustmaster MFDs. Well, unfortunately, they're based on the F-16, which has less buttons than the Apache, so I've had to improvise a little bit and use some of the brightness contrast buttons to replicate that, which does get a little bit confusing sometimes, but again, it's preferable to trying to use the mouse when really with a helicopter you want to keep your hands on the collective and cyclic at all times. I'm finding that setup's working pretty well for me. Coming through these trees here, I'm going to go nose to tail trim, just so I'm not leaving my vulnerable tail rotor hanging out the back. Potentially contract a tree during our day. Stay point 6, so almost at the point where we'll head towards our battle position now, which should be up somewhere on these hills overlooking the road that the convoys apparently going to travel down. I haven't checked on my wingman since takeoff. I'm assuming he's hanging on back there somewhere. You never know with DCS wingmen. Oh, there he is. So you can just see on the TSD there the artillery fire position and the battle position coming into view in the top right corner. So when we get to stay point 7, I'm going to have to put a direct to that battle position. So I'm moving the cursor across. Preparation for that. Slip down, go to route mode. I'm just going to pre-position the cursor over direct, ready to select it. And we get to stay point 7. Okay, less than a kilometre to go now to 8.7, just coming up on the nose. You can see the battle position just appearing underneath the route there. So I'll increase collective a little bit, climbing right hand turn up over these trees. Be careful not to hit them. Okay, so the Russians have crossed the border and we are weapons free. So there it is on the nose, going to hit the cursor select now, direct to, move up to the battle position. Until it goes black, there we go, we've now got the symbology there. I'm going to tell my wingman.
Flight, anchor here. Roger.
I'm getting to hold over this village while I'm going to have a peek over the ridge line here and see what we can see. We are weapons free, so we are armed. Pull up George, tell him to select Hellfire.
Pausing Hellfire.
Reduce speed and collective as we approach the battle position. Rather than hug the hill, I'm actually going to climb up over the top of it, keep a bit of range. Put the weapon page, make sure George has got a active Hellfire, he does. So over there is the village that the convoy will probably pass through, so it's not the best battle position really. Feels like it might be quite exposed. I'm going to put a little bit more solid stuff between me and the location of the convoy. Keep the speed bleeding back as we approach the crest of the hill. Video page, choose tabs, let's zoom, and let's get George looking.
Slaving.
And he's already spotted them, so pull up into the hover.
Placed and stored.
Select the APC, and you can see we've got a good picture there, although it's going to be obscured very shortly by those trees, so I'm not going to try for the Hellfire shot just yet. Probably lose laser tracking. Actually, we probably have time. Okay, rifle.
Firing.
Goes the Hellfire. 10 seconds. Looks like a good shot. Well, perhaps not actually. Slide left and see if we can get a better look at these guys. Oh, this is awkward, we've lost them in the trees. I'm trying to make sure that I've got a way out here if we get engaged. And the plan will be to accelerate to our left and then duck back behind the hill. Okay, so that comes into view again now. This feels very exposed. Should drop down a bit more. Wait for a good opportunity to engage again. As soon as he clears that building, it's looking good.
Engaging. Target destroyed.
Okay. Let's pick up the next tank. Give it a missile indication. Some countermeasures out, dive back, and to low level. Try not to overtalk it. It's probably some sort of optically guided missile, anti-tank missile. So we want to try and put a bit of distance between ourselves and the convoy. Set up for another hellfire shot. Three kilometers away from our battle position. Can't see our wingman out there. He's still orbiting. We'll turn back in so we can reacquire the targets. There's the village coming into view again. Just climb high enough to peek over the top here.
Slaving. I'm deslaved.
Stop trying to get them.
Slaving.
We go much higher than this, but I do want to start slowing down. Okay, I can see the smoke through the flare now of the initial engagement, or is that smoke from the chimney? There they are.
Slaving.
Take the first
Blazed and
tank.
stored. Firing.
Rifle. Wow, they're moving quickly. Let's drop down before they see us again.
Good effects on target.
It's a good hit. I know roughly where they are now, so I can change position again. Don't be too predictable. And they really are motoring towards the Georgians, so I better get my wingman involved here as well.
Flight. Join up. Redoing.
There's the smoke from the previous one. You can see how the flare is helping me out in terms of spotting these convoy on the road.
Slaving. Deslaving. Target stored.
Some trees in the way again. Oh, shit. Okay, this is good. To say the least. Let's try and set it down here, I think. Serious controllability issues here.
Rotor RPM
Tree.
high. Rotor RPM.
Okay, so that didn't go to plan. So we're going to pretend that didn't happen and try again from the front seat this time. I got George to fly us back along the route and up to the battle position from the back seat, whilst I got everything set up in the front seat. And the goal this time will be to keep greater range and make better use of the terrain. When I'm in the front seat, I'm keeping the same mappings for my collective and cyclic. This allows me to take control away from George if I'm not happy with what he's doing. And by using a couple of modifiers, I've managed to replicate the critical functions of both the left and the right TDAC, and also the mappings for giving instructions to George onto an Xbox controller. And that means I can basically go heads down and do all the things I need to do to get the aircraft pointed in the right direction and deploy weapons. So you can see I've relocated the convoy from about 6.3 kilometers away this time, and also because of the lower altitude, the road they're traveling on is obscured by some trees. So the plan here is to laze the gap between the trees, launch a Hellfire, and in the last few seconds of its terminal guidance, guide it onto whichever part of the convoy is passing through the gap at that time. Rifle. "15 seconds. Okay, the last few seconds, going to pick the target. Second last one, do. Tracking and shack. Okay, looks like I'll have to wait until they clear that building. Okay, similar thing. Gonna laze the spot and start tracking. That's some of the artillery rounds starting to land. Shack. Gonna have to be quick here. Yep, there's the tracer fire. Rifle again, tracking. And shack. Those trees are going to be a problem.
Copy. Increasing altitude.
More tracer fire, getting George to get a bit higher up so I can engage again. Rifle again, tracking. Quick as I can onto the next one. Oh, come on, George, don't descend. There we go, reacquired lasing. And shack. 2 missiles remaining, that's the last BMP. Rifle, it's going to be difficult to keep tracking him. Hope he appears the other side of that burning tank. There he is. That was my wingman's missile. And there's mine. Is that all of them? Nope, one left.
Running in.
Last missile, better make this count. And that should be all of the convoy. Okay, so I've now acquired the SA-11 convoy just past one of the tanks I hit earlier. Finally found some time to adjust the level. Those targets aren't glowing quite so hot now. Okay, 300 rounds of gun. Engage the lead vehicle to get in stop. And then prioritize the sound launches.
Decreasing altitude.
Don't think there's any defences, but I'm going to get George to descend just in case. Also need to get him a bit more aligned. There they are, there at the window, quite close in. I'm going to need to lead the shots. Finally got their attention. First launcher down. Come on. Took way more rounds than I was hoping, only 40 left. It's probably not a great idea to overfly the target.
Breaking 180.
So you can take us 180 back and also increase the speed.
Copy. Speeding up.
Not very tactically
Roger.
sound.
Decreasing altitude.
Getting in that close. Essentially flying right over the top of the target. Fortunately, nobody down there is capable of
Copy.
shooting back.
Slowing down.
Flight. Engage targets of opportunity.
2. Negative. Roger. Decreasing altitude. Breaking 180.
So despite having only fired one Hellfire, our wingman is just point blank refusing to engage. There'll definitely be a report going about him when we land. And that just leaves me with 40 rounds to try and take out the remaining elements of the SA-11.
Copy. Slowing down.
Cats is pointing back towards a destroyed convoy, so better pull that back to the front. Try and find the launcher, there's one. Okay, looks like the very last round took him out. That's a truck. It's also a truck. Damn it, still one launcher left and no rounds in the gun. Guess it's his lucky day. Let's make sure there's nothing else. That's that first tank I destroyed with Hellfire, or one of the first. So it's time to go home. Back towards waypoint 7.
Roger. Aligning.
George to speed up and start flying back towards waypoint 7.
Copy. Speeding up.
and I'm going to go into route manager and reverse the route, so we'll fly back down the river and return to the farm.
Copy. Speeding up.
So still plenty to learn with the Apache, but I am absolutely loving it. It's a great module. Very solid and stable early access release, I would say. And where it's going to get really fun is when we have pairs of Apaches with human pilots and co-pilot gunners doing this sort of mission. That's where this module is really going to shine. Wait and see where number 2 touches down. Try and slide up and beside him. Hopefully he doesn't do anything too erratic. Okay, he's down. Set it down beside him. There we go. Job done.